Welcome to the Community ROI podcast. Here, senior community experts, founders, and C-level managers tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth about how community impacts business growth. By listening to these conversations, you'll get actionable steps on how to connect community goals with business goals to skyrocket business growth while still bringing extreme value to community members. And my name is Yurii. I help people and brands shine through communities and personal connections. And my guest is Ruthie Berber, a community builder with over 13 years of experience, collaborator, and advocate for women and wellness, who believes community is how business grow and builds communities that actually move the business from scaling community from 0 to 1 at Yotpo to leading a 13,000 plus provider network at Growth Therapy and
18,000.
more. 18,000, and more. So welcome, Ruthie.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to
Numbers
be
are
here. It's
growing
been a few
fast.
years since we've had the same backgrounds.
That's how it works. But numbers are growing fast. It's been some times because on your LinkedIn, I found like 13K and now it's 18K. See,
It's actually,
it's
we're
it's
about to pass 19K in the community. Yeah.
crazy, crazy. And before we start, since you're working with a community of therapists, I heard that every therapist needs a therapist. Do you think that every community builder needs a community builder?
Yes. I actually, no, you laugh, but I actually do. I really think I went to a community builder, like social, like a networking thing this week. And it was so refreshing to be around other people who build community and kind of understand. And you can kind of throw a problem out into the air and they're like, oh, yeah, this is how I deal with it. And I feel like that's kind of the same for therapists, no?
Yeah, it's so funny because some time ago I was leading the community of SEO experts, and when we gathered, it was the most talkative community ever because SEO experts back then were like small teams in like
Right.
different companies, and they had no one to speak with. And I feel like community builders are very similar. So when we gather together, it's just the best place ever. So I totally get what you're talking about. So let's jump into this nitty gritty of this community ROI metrics and connecting it with business. So the first question, what is your definition of a community for business?
I really wish I had like a clean, pristine, what is the definition of community for business? I think that in reality, community for business depends on the business and it looks very different for different businesses. But if I think about, you know, how that, how I've come across that in my own experience, I think it's either like carving out a space and a container for whether it be your customers, your employees, your users, whatever it is, that then kind of can be used to both amplify business goals and connect that group of people with each other for other purposes that deepen whatever it is that they're trying to do. So if their business, if it's B2B, then it's either grow their own business, and if it's B2C, then it's achieving whatever unifying issue that relates all of these people. And I think for businesses, it's a little bit of like brand affinity and growth combined. And I think it has to be both. If it's just brand or if it's just growth, it tends to fail or it will miss the mark.
You used community, not community. You used business goals. So I'm curious, what's your definition of a community goal?
So for me and how I think about it, and I'm in this kind of like, therapists are, or providers, prescribers and therapists are unique in that it is a bit B2B because they are businesses, they are solo practitioners and they're running their business, but they're also individual humans. So it's like a B2B slash B2C situation. And so the business goals, for me, the community goals have to ladder up to the business goals. So if the business goal is to, you know, we have a few business goals, right? Expand the provider network, increase lives covered, so clients that see providers and from multiple sessions with measurable outcomes, and have as much coverage as possible in the US with payers. So what we can do, if I can, kind of let's take a step back. If these are the business goals, I can say, okay, so the community goals should ladder up exactly to those goals. So for example, if it's expanding the network, then the community should be an amazing platform for referrals and bringing in more providers. If it's about If we want to increase, client care and measured outcomes, then I can ensure that we are providing enablement, content, programming exactly tailored to delivering care and client outcomes, and further ensuring that they can be as successful as possible on the platform so that they can see as many clients as possible. And then finally, when it comes to insurance coverage, it's an issue of compliance. So we can help with documentation support, enablement and understanding of how to do that to ensure that they are absolutely going to be covered by all insurances.
Community builders usually love the goals of like retention or keeping people inside. And the more I speak with other people out there, experts, they kind of like hate expanding community because it's like more like the marketing salesy part that you have to go out there somehow. And I'm curious,
Yeah.
since you've talked about expanding, that you have this goal expanding providers, how do you do it with a community?
So I will say that's the business goal, right? So the community is something that you can only access if you use the platform. So inherently, I cannot be promoting the community. I can't open the community publicly. It's absolutely not something that we can use the community for. That said, happy community members are likely to share their experience and be like, hey, I'm running my solo practice on Grow. I use the community. It's really great. You should also run your practice on Grow. That's an amazing outcome for me as a community builder. So what I am looking at is building in, like integrating into the community experience opportunities to either elevate their voices and share them out where possible, where it's appropriate, or to give them opportunities to encourage them to refer other providers to the network. Again, eventually those providers, if they get onto the network, will naturally be part of the community. So we have about 22,000 total providers in the network, and 19,000 of them are in the community. So it's a pretty high penetration rate, which means like it's very it's very integral to a provider's experience on Grow. Like you use the platform and use the community because you're a solo practitioner, you're alone, you have a question, there's not really anyone to ask. It's not like you have colleagues, you don't have a water cooler. So the community totally is that space for everyone. But then beyond that, it's like, okay, you need to do continuing education every year to keep your license. We have continuing education available for free in the community. You have a really strange case with weird documentation. We've got documentation guidelines or a course in the community. So it's like really finding ways that we can complement their day to day and their practice that will naturally turn them into advocates.
Yeah, it
And that's
sounds
how
like
we'll grow
it sounds
the
like you
network.
you create everything they need. And I'm curious, how did you understand what exactly do they need?
So, okay, so I think again, this is where it grows a little different because it's not like they're not customers, they're not employees. It's like a kind of, they are contractors for Grow, but they also run their business for Grow. So they're in a way like they're the users. So what we know about like what they need is from the clinical standpoint. So Grow Therapy has a complete clinical team. We have a clinical excellence team whose job is really like clinical risk, audit, clinical programming, and we partner extremely closely with them to ensure from a clinical standpoint, we're covering all of the topics and providing all the education that is necessary because there is really an expectation for providers to continue learning, and it's even required to keep your license. So they really do need to have access to all of that from an education standpoint. And then over time, I think, I joined Grow Therapy, over a year and a half ago, and we were just under 10,000 providers in the community, and now we're almost 19,000. And through the experience of the providers in the community, we can see very clearly what they need. Like, I need help with, oh, I don't understand how to use the AI summarization notes. Oh, I want to better, like, I'm having issues with tele. And so we can really relay and create like a product feedback loop with our product team and also create business and practice management, forums, resources, events that are really focused on like how to optimize your profile, you know, again, they're on a marketplace. Clients need to choose, and their profile is their selling point. So we're really supporting them like business to business. Like, here's how you can be successful.
You talked about referrals from a community, and also since every community member basically a platform user, so I'm curious how do you distinguish, how do you understand that someone came through the referral from a community, not just from the market?
So, I mean, obviously, there's indirect, like, there's an assumption that we can correlate, obviously, if a provider is having a good experience, they're active in the community, the community is probably part of that good experience. And if they're then advocating and bringing people in, that's great. There is also a dedicated like process for referring. It's actually funny because we're including it in the newsletter today. But every provider in their portal has access to a unique shareable link.
Mm.
Now, that link is not trackable to the community, but us sharing the link to the portal to where they click the link to share to refer is. So that's trackable in the newsletter. We post about it in the community. We did like an incentive campaign over the holidays where we increased, like, you get like a $200 gift card, like for Amazon. So it's like these are ways that we can see that we're able to move the needle or not.
Yeah, so basically you still have this tracking mechanism that you can distinguish whether this person is an active user of a community or they're not.
Well, so like the tracking part is really like who referred the
Mhm.
new provider, but how they got to that point in their portal, we can track from the newsletter and from the community.
Got it. So we were talking a little bit about expanding goal and also referring goal. So I'm curious, what is one goal of the community that you are working with at the moment, or maybe worked before, that inspires you personally the most?
I mean, like I have the standard ones, that are like very near and dear to me, but I'm actually going to say something that's a little harder for me to connect with, but really important and inspiring, is kind of AI adoption. That's one of the
Mm.
community goals. Like, our platform is designed to make providers' lives easier, and part of that is our AI run tools. So whether that's your AI powered notes, whether it's after visit summaries, whether it's the clinically developed kind of like coach chat friend that the clients then have in between sessions that the therapist can give like homework or exercises to. And it's like, this is the new age of therapy. If clients are anyway going to chat GPT to like get their like ask questions or get advice, it's much better that they do it from a clinically guarded and very, 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 ethically focused place. And so something that we are trying to do is help kind of alleviate the fear around AI because it's coming, right? It's here either way. So how can these therapists really get ahead of the curve and deliver the best possible care using AI in a safe way? So one of our goals is actually AI adoption, and that's a really hard thing to track. Again, like if we do, a fireside chat with our team about like how to use the AI enhanced photos,
Mm.
then the people who attended that, fireside chat in the community, do they then update their photos using the AI tool? It's hard to track, but this is something that we're trying to connect, that and kind of using like gamification and like AI advocates, AI champions program, and really highlighting and elevating the voices of the providers in the community who have had really good experiences with AI and want to talk more about it. We want to give opportunities for like AI wins of these providers who have like really just done a great job with it and like can inspire others. So for me, this is inspiring because it's something new to me. I'm not an AI whiz. Like, of course I use AI, I work in tech, but I'm by no means like at the forefront of working with AI. But it's one of the most important things for our providers to thrive and for honestly our business to thrive. And I think that it really is it's a new goal. I'm inspired by it because I'm like, wow, this is hard. I have no idea how we're really, really, truly going to track it, but we now are creating like absolutely full dedicated programming to all of our adoption, usage, and enablement.
How do you ensure that people who are mostly in like the most human profession ever, where you literally need human to human conversation, how do you encourage them to adopt AI?
So I think what we've really found is that like we're of the belief that people are going to use AI anyway. And the thing is, ChatGPT or other AI tools that you just find on web browsers, they're not designed by therapists. They're not designed by clinicians. They are not there are no guardrails built in. It is not designed actually for therapy, right? We know that. And so what we say is like, hey, if this is happening anyway, we have an entire team of clinicians. We literally have a clinical AI team. Okay, that's what we have in at Growth Therapy. And so it's like if we are trying to come up with a much safer, effective alternative so that your clients who are used to anyway chatting with AI bots can at least chat with one that was designed by clinicians, is monitored by clinicians, has guardrails in there. So that's like on the chat piece. And on the other piece, it's like, hey, the other part isn't really human. Like you getting notes faster, that's saving you time. That has nothing to do with human. It actually gives you more time to spend focused in the session. You don't have to write down everything or write everything by hand and then type it up later. You're actually just like super present with the client, and then you get a summary at the end, and then you get to like you can change it and be like, that was, you check it. It's not like one and done. And then you can also like use it to develop like quick summaries and things to share with you with a client between sessions. Something really cool that we started doing is like before, if you're a client, if you're a provider and you're seeing 25 clients a week, how are you going to remember what you spoke about last week or who you spoke? So right before the session, we send you like, hey, this is what you spoke about last week. Here are like a few highlights. And that's AI. I mean, it's not really replacing the human thing. It's really actually just giving them more space to deliver their very human service.
I recently reviewed some of the Black Mirror episodes, and it was an episode where people had this like built-in cameras in their mind, and they can literally
Ugh,
rewind to like anything they wanted to review it as many times as they wanted. It's like,
so
oh God, it's
creepy.
kind of creepy, but it's kind of coming maybe. So
Yeah.
yeah, and since we're talking about AI, how do you personally use AI in the community building process?
Oof. Oof. Okay. There's a few elements here. And maybe just for context, I'll say how the team is designed. So we have I have a like manager for the community engagement and enablement, and she manages our moderators and a engagement enablement lead. That lead is going to be focused primarily on AI, but other like, behavior and like positive behavior encouraging enablement features. And then we have events and operations, and then communications and like marketing. So it's like these are three, like we have like these three little pillars. And when I think about when I think about community, I'm thinking about my whole team. And I think for the purposes of this discussion and this podcast, inside the literal digital home base, because we do a lot of offline programming, in-person events, things like that are kind of like beyond the community space. But within the community space, there are a few ways that we have been implementing AI. First and foremost, the easiest thing is creating a community co-pilot. We created a GPT. We fed it everything that was in the community, every answer that went well, what the providers say, how they speak, everything into there. So at least we have this like GPT that is at least primed to speak and understand the situation. Second of all, our community is built on Circle, so we are like experimenting a lot with the AI agents and seeing like, using some of the flags and things that can make us just faster and meet providers and respond to providers as quickly as possible. needless to say, we use AI for content generation and communications. Like it's not a joke. But I think that the way that my philosophy is never like, here, write it, copy paste, put it there, but really like, this is what I want to say. Okay, here's a draft. Okay, then I want to change it. Like I really we have a strict no copy paste policy. So because the providers can tell. And I think
Yeah.
it's really important that they know that like a human wrote this content for them or this response for them, whatever. So I think like that's a really big, it's a time saver, but it's still the actual content's coming from the team, and that's really important. Um, and I think another way is like feeding it data sets. So like we get all the, event surveys, or we get all of the like, here are all the responses to this post, like pick out the negative themes. Here's the event survey. Like give us the NPS, give us the CSAT. Like just trying to make our lives easier. We're not yet at the advanced stages, I would say, of like building agents, but I think that's definitely on the books. I think that we are going to like start looking at Claude and Claude Cowork and trying to better understand like with that, with this change, I think it's something we have to take quite seriously because there is so much to do now that's available to every person.
Yeah, I feel like the main blocker at the moment is to understand how to create agents because it also takes time. But the moment you understand, then it's like easy. It's like delegating every repetitive, like routine tasks that you only have, and then you
Yeah.
have still time
Yeah.
to really talk to people, not just talk to like data, but really talk to people.
Yes.
And since we are talking about tech stack, you name Circle, so I'm curious, how's your community tech stack looks like? Like what platforms, in addition maybe to
Yeah.
Circle and tools, do you enjoy using the most? For what and why?
Okay, so we use Circle. That was the platform that it was built on before I arrived. Since I came, I felt like there were some gaps, with analytics. So we actually we connected with Circle, bought their data API, and are building our own dashboard with our data team just to complete some of the data sets that we feel like are missing, and analytics that are just a bit more helpful for the day to day and for like zoomed out reporting. We layer onto that, integration via Workato into HubSpot. HubSpot's where all the emails, the triggers, all of that. I mean, because that connects to our wider comms as well. All of our comms are in HubSpot, and it's also our CRM. So we know, like, if a provider is no longer with Grow, there's a trigger to like remove them for the community, because the community is only for active providers who are seeing clients on Grow. But that's just like one example. And then so Workato, HubSpot, Circle, our own data API native dashboard that we're building with our data team, Zoom Events Hub. Right now, that's actually like we experimented with quite a few. I won't name names, but we have, sometimes 1,000, 2,000 people
Yeah.
on an event. Like we need something extremely stable. And to be fair, something that the providers can understand and know how to use. So actually, we find Zoom Events Hub really great, like with their webinar features and being able to like create all of that sign up flow, the calendar, the links. It's just much simpler. We did used to use a few others, and then for some of the smaller events, we use the native Circle Live rooms, and then I know I'm missing others. I mean, ChatGPT, that's obvious. Um, wow. Coda, because that's where we do all of our project work.
Mm.
So project content development, everything, knowledge base, everything is in Coda. So that's like something I think like very unique to Grow. Like since I've been there, like there's no Monday, there's no, I mean there is Jira for the product and engineering, and but not for my team. Like we do everything
Yeah.
through Coda. Slack all day, every day. No email. There's no email. We don't use email at all. Just so you know, like at all. Um, and then a little like Figma here and there. We use tally.so for all of our forms. Really, really great. Really recommend that. Um, yeah, I think that's like, mostly it. Obviously, like people on my team use different things like Retool and Hex, but that's kind of getting a little bit further in. But if we think like explicitly for community actions, that's
Yeah.
where we're at.
What is one tool that you hate using, kinda, and would like to change? And what's one tool that you would like to try?
Um, okay, one tool that I'd like to try is Claude Cowork. I'm
Mhm.
super interested in learning about that, figuring it out, finding a way to like build my own agents and save time for my team. And I think like that's really, really exciting. Um, and then, I mean, I struggle with Circle mostly because it's really hard to run like a very, very large community on there, and especially one that has so much content and so much, video and courses, and it's all basically just like one nav on the left side,
Hmm.
which makes it pretty dense.
So you were talking about the community team and like what's inside, like whom do you work with and all these things. And outside of the community, what three teams do you usually work the most with while building a community, and how does a community impact them?
Okay, so three teams that we work with the most. Clinical, like I said, absolutely. Like no question. I mean, really, the clinical education program manager, she's like basically on our team. Like we do so much with her. Product team, deeply involved with them, whether it's like on the product feedback loops or adjustments, announcements, and like that. Insurance ops, there's so much like policy changes, requirements from payers, compliance things. Like we're on with ops a lot, which includes insurance ops, support, product, clinical, legal, because like I said, very regulated industry. So, a lot of nuance here. You can't just like say things. And there's also a lot of like red tape around like information like PHI, HIPAA, etc. Um, yeah, I think those are probably like the most, oh, and the marketing team.
How do you encourage people from other teams to work with a community without just adding extra stuff to their plates?
So I feel very lucky, but at Grow Therapy, like the community is literally seen as part of the product. It is literally one-fourth of the product. Like when we present the four pillars to our providers, like here's what you're getting. It's like you're getting the platform, you're getting the clinical support, you're getting this like business back office, so like, success, operations, insurance, compliance, and then you're getting the community. These are your four things. So we're really like, because the community is one-fourth of the offering, and almost all the providers who are in network with us sit in the community, it makes it inherently like relevant and important to these teams, because if they want to get the message out, encourage a new behavior, roll out like a new, operation, that basically will always have to include the community, because that's where you're going to get the largest reach. And then in terms of learning, this is again another place, like where else are you going to get access to 19,000 of your users, right? So I think there's just like a really clear value prop for the teams. And then on like, I think for like marketing or internal encouragement, there's so much incredible like provider testimonials, providers talking about their experience that we can then like share.
And it sounds like you don't deal with stakeholders buy-in. It sounds like it's already there.
I think it's about the buy-in part is more just like how do you work with us? How do you use it? Because I think obviously not everyone's a community expert. Some people are like, "Oh, what's the big deal? Why can't you just post this thing today?" And it's like, because there's a calendar, because we don't want to bombard them with four announcements in 1 week because they've just learned about this, and we're trying to like, encourage this behavior, so we don't want to now like add something else. So like we obviously there's like a little bit of back and forth, but I do feel like at least the I don't have to convince people of the value of the community. Sometimes I can need to remind them like, hey, we could just do that in the community, right? Or hey, we could actually send out a targeted DM to community members with that exact survey who fit the bill of what you're looking for. They're like, oh wow, that's amazing. So there's definitely a bit of reminding and advocating that we need to do on behalf of the team. But I would say that the baseline is very much like, oh, the community is it's not an afterthought, it's very much part of what we're offering
Do
providers.
do you have some kind of internal guidelines of how to work with the community?
Yeah, so we actually have a few. So one, we have the provider communications calendar. Like I said, provider communications is also under my team. And so that communications calendar also connects to our community events and content and like announcements calendar. You have to request, there's a process, you put it in, here's what I want to include. For our newsletter, we have this open thing, like again on Coda, where you can add like, can we include this? And then like we determine if we include it or not, but typically it's fine. So there's a process for requesting an event, requesting a post, um, requesting a communication.
You have process for everything. Is there a process that you still don't have but would like to add?
Hmm. I'm sure. If you ask my operations employee, she would tell you definitely. I think streamlining, the way we did a lot of work this past year on streamlining like communications and sensitive communication specifically and how to work cross-functionally with us. And we just basically created this like rollout guidelines. So it's like if it's this level of sensitivity, this is what you do. If it's this level of sensitivity, this is what you do, etc. But I think that when it's not a sensitive rollout, but it's just like something like, hey, we want to reach out to these providers for like research questions, UXR, it's just 25 providers. We're slowly building some of these processes out. It's typically like a closed Slack channel now, and then it like develops into a coda.
What kind of segmentation do you have within your community?
So much. I mean, like I mean, because not only do providers like have different specialties, and that's a million things. Then there's also affinity identity. So you have like maybe like 23, 25 different niche groups. So like, providers who support clients with disabilities, providers who are focused on, couples, like that. There's a kind of a wide range. And then there's also the affinity group, like I'm a BIPOC provider. I'm a provider based in California.
Hmm.
In America, your license is by state. So we actually have a channel for every single state in America. So that's one. So segmentation can be like your primary license, your secondary license, your niche, your affinity. And then when they join the community, they fill in like what kind of events they're interested in. So when there's an event, we send a targeted DM to anyone who said like, oh, I'm interested in self-care events. If it's a self-care event, we'll promote it to them. If they didn't, we won't. They'll just see it in the main place where events are promoted.
What kind of customer journeys, like community member journeys, do you have in place?
We have an onboarding course. So obviously like a welcome checklist, but then also like a full course that you go through. Part of it is obviously introducing yourself. When you join Grow Therapy and become a provider, Grow Therapy sends you a plant. So we have a channel called Show Us Your Plants where they post, here's my plant. I'm so excited to be here, whatever. We have the intro channel, Share Your Wins. And then the state channels, like I said, where you are really matters. So like I would say a part of that journey is like, hey, everyone, like I specifically take this insurance and see this client. If you know anyone, please send them my way. So it's like there's a lot of like inter provider referrals. And because they're also med managers and therapists in the same place. So that there's also that. And I think like the events, so we have about 30 to 40 virtual events a month.
It's like
Um,
more than one event per
yeah, yeah, yeah.
day.
And some of them are peer led and smaller, like, a peer group focused on for providers in Massachusetts, small. But then there are also like continuing education, credit, clinical event, over 3,000 RSVPs, that can also be happening the same week. And then we can have a self-care event. We can have an EMDR event. So we have product, clinical, and self-care. Product, clinical, self-care, and then practice management, like business focused events.
How do you feel about lurkers?
About what? Lurkers.
Yeah.
Love them. Love learners as far as I'm concerned, especially for therapists. They don't have a lot of time, but like if we can help them get the information, we see about almost 2,000 providers entering every single day. So maybe it's not the same providers every day, but even if they've entered once in the week or in the month and they've gotten something out of it, then we're doing our job.
Do you try to engage them anyhow?
Yes, we do. We definitely have, weekly rituals. We have Monday member shout out, Thursday practice pearls. So those are the things we do a lot of like content around seasonal awareness. So this month is Black History Month. And we invite, Black providers to share their stories and contribute, or we share resources and information. So it's like there's definitely like the seasonal awareness programming that's like pure engagement, right? It's just here's some great things that we, heard about and we want to share with you. Women's History Month coming up, things like that. And then there's more like practice specific, like here are some great ideas, or what's a great idea that you like, what's a great method that you take in this situation. And then there's like pure like recognition, Monday member shout out, like shout out to this member for being super helpful. And then we have obviously like light gamification, so some badges for thrivers, for our top, providers on the platform. We've got most helpful, high contributor, learner, like things like that. And then, yeah, I mean, I would say the events is our biggest lever for engagement, because like some people really come every week to do like the like tapping, EFT tapping, like, or the mindfulness thing, or they come and they're like, I want to learn every week. Or they're like kind of new on the platform and they want to go to our new provider office hours, where it's
Hmm.
like, how do I use this? So it's like we really try and have something for everyone, because there's so many people, so many providers in the community, but they're all at different stages of their journey, whether it's their journey with Grow or their journey as a practitioner.
I speak to, I don't know, at least 20, 30 different community experts per week. And at least five of them tell me that they are struggling with engagement. And I'm always asking, like, why? Why do you need this engagement? So I'm curious, what's like in the engagement that you create within your community, what's the need for business? Like keeping members engaged, how does it help to reach business goals?
So if the members are engaged, then we can also engage them with business-oriented content, which means like if we want to make sure that they are meeting certain documentation standards, then the best way to reach them is if they're engaged and they're already in the community, they can, join our weekly documentation call. If we want to ensure that they like the better profiles they have, the higher likelihood that they match with clients, the better it is for business. So again, we have a Let's Talk profiles, like improve your profile 101. If we are thinking about like keeping clinicians who are licensed and in network on the platform, then continuing education is a really big part of that. If they don't have their CEs, like they have to go that take time off, they can't see clients and they have to go and do it. So these are the ways that we're ensuring that we're trying to always ladder up to those goals that we spoke about earlier, which is like if it's not serving, keeping,
Mhm.
retaining or retaining and or expanding the provider network, improving client retention and outcomes, and expanding insurance or payer coverage, then we're not doing it.
What I also hear, like in between the lines, that basically by investing in success of your customers, you're investing in success of your business.
Exactly. That's exactly right. I mean, that's also like the way that Grow operates. It's a shared investment model. Like the providers, the more successful the providers are, the more successful the business is. It's really simple. Like the incentives are absolutely aligned.
And it's like the best. Sometimes people are forgetting about success of the customers.
Mhm.
They think about success of the business, but at the end
The
of the day,
business,
hey,
yeah.
guess who pays you money? So, Ruthie, I wish to have the sky's the limit, but time is the limit. So the final
Uh,
question.
yes. Oh my God. Did we
What
make it
is
through?
what is one thing to do right away for someone struggling with identifying their community ROI?
Go to your business goals, the actual company goals. Look at the company OKRs and be like, okay, first of all, what are the company OKRs? Second of all, what can the community influence? Like which KRs or KPIs can the community influence here to get to the company's ultimate OKRs? And then design programs and reporting and content and internal advocacy that aligns to those KPIs because ROI is only clear when you can connect it to the actual business goals. Like saying like we have really high engagement or there are a lot of people who attend our events, like that doesn't really mean much unless you say like we have X amount of providers attending events specifically about continuing education, which is something absolutely necessary for keeping providers in practice, which directly ties to keeping to expanding the network.
Last but not least, name two people I should reach out to talk about community ROI.
I was thinking about this, like, who am I going to say? Because you basically already interviewed everyone. Um, Maybe Erica Hansen. I interviewed her for on a panel a few months ago, and she attended one of my events, and she led, I think, at both Microsoft and Google, if I'm not, no, Google and another like very big company. So definitely reach out to her. And then, I
There are
mean,
so many names in the
there's so
community
many names.
world,
But
and
honestly, have you met Zach Hotoff?
just recently, it's kind of a spoiler. Okay, no, it's not a spoiler because your episode will go after his episode, so it's not a spoiler. So kind of yes, but it counts. It's totally good. It counts.
But you already done an episode with him. No, let's think of someone else.
Let's go.
What about Veronica? Veronica Colinas?
Not yet. Not yet.
Great. So you should reach out to her. She's like doing um, more like personal self-care, human facilitation, things like that, community building.
Got it. And what is the best way to connect with you?
Well, I'm not really on social media these days, but you can find me on LinkedIn or on one of the 36 Slack communities that I'm a part of. Um, yeah, LinkedIn probably, and then take it from there. Or
Got
if you're in a community group with me on Slack, feel free to DM me because I am always on Slack.
Got it. Got it, Ruthie. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. We've been know each other for like, I don't know how many years for life, and
I
you are
want to
one
say
of
like at
this.
least 3 years now.
At least, yeah, of course. So, and you're
Not
definitely one
longer.
of the experts that I'm always love to share their experience and also learn from because you've done that, you've been there, done that, and it's like you're like an OG in the community space. So
Oh my God,
thank
no,
you very
I'm
much
not.
for sharing your experience.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's always such a pleasure to chat with you, Yuri. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And yeah, see you in the community world. And thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions about how the community can help you reach and overcome your business goals faster, let's connect on LinkedIn and talk about it. That's it. We're done. See you in the next episode.